great ways to prepare for an interview would include, if you know anyone inside the organization, I would speak to them and find out a little bit more about the company. Um, I would also obviously prepare for any question that you might get about the role. You can do this actually pretty easily by printing out a couple of job descriptions from that company and from others and reverse engineering the job description. So for example, it might say, tell me about a time that you worked in HubSpot. I always use marketing as an example. Tell me about a time that the recruitment requirement may say, excuse me, use HubSpot, for email marketing. And so you want to reverse engineer that into a question. So the question might be, tell me about a time when you used HubSpot. And so you prepare for an answer like that. But the best way to prepare for an interview is to identify your accomplishment stories. And I would love to help you do that. So because this is a little more of a personalized exercise, definitely book an appointment with me for that. I think it's almost impossible to give a generic, you know, it affects it positively or it affects it negatively. It's these are humans behind this, right? And so I can't tell you if it's a good or a bad thing, but I would say that, for example, if you're on LinkedIn and the job has been posted on LinkedIn, you do know who that recruiter is, and I would advise you to reach out to them. I also think that it's it. I do advise my clients to reach out to the recruiters after applying for a job, simply because you want to stay on their radar. But I ultimately the decision is not going to be in the recruiter's purview. It's going to be about the hiring manager, the people who make the decision about the role. What I would definitely advise against is waiting too long. If you are going to reach out, don't wait too long to reach out to the recruiter. Probably no more than 2 weeks. If you haven't heard back at that 2 week window, you can say, hey, just wanted to reach out, express my interest in this role, wanted to know how the application process is going. And if you have any updates, I think that's totally acceptable. And I would advise my clients to do that. I think that a lot of times right now, interviews are on Zoom. And I mean, there's so much out there right now about Zoom interviews, but I think it's just really important. I can't stress it enough. You really need to be comfortable on Zoom, comfortable on Google Meet. And so mock interviews, conduct them both like in person and over Zoom. Have your friend interview you just like you're doing with me, interview you for comfort, for your ability to handle any tech issues that might come up. So really a do would be get comfortable with the technology that's used nowadays for interviews. In terms of a don't, and this is kind of a simple one, but I would say don't, when you go into an interview, don't um, go and prep yourself. Don't go right to the bathroom and prep yourself. Do everything that you need to do in the car. The moment that you walk through the door, your interview is starting. So whoever you communicate with, they're taking note, from the front desk person to anyone who's in the hallway. So that is when your interview starts. And be prepared that once you leave that car, your job interview has begun. This is a great question. What happens if you don't get the job after an interview? First of all, I would like to say that it doesn't mean that the game is over. You definitely want to stay in touch with these folks. I would ask for, whenever possible, I would ask for feedback, and even advice. What could I have done differently? Or would you be willing to just share with me a little bit about the person who did get the job? They may say no, and that's totally okay, but you definitely should reach out. I hate the word should, but it's a great idea to reach out to the employer to ask for feedback. And also it's great because you're staying on their radar, and you could be the second candidate. That person could get a job and they could leave and they could end up calling you. This has happened to me so many times with clients. So there is definitely a possibility of a second chance.